remember one statement by Gautama Buddha. He said that one problem with human beings is that either they are suffering too little or they are not suffering enough. So one thing about human suffering is that either if you approach it in a certain way, if you're approaching your sufferings out of unawareness, your sufferings can seem like a curse. But if you're approaching your suffering with awareness, now this is an opportunity. Tell me, how is it possible for human intelligence to sharpen human intelligence, to come to deeper insight and deeper clarity into things as they are, without some amount of suffering? So suffering is, if you approach it with awareness, this is an opportunity to understand what are the limitations which are functioning in your life. But that's not the way that we approach our sufferings. Usually our general tendency is, what's pleasant, we want to move towards it. What is unpleasant, we want to move away from it. But what we like and what we dislike, doesn't this have very little to do with what's useful for your inner growth? What you like, it may be a great obstacle, can't it be? And what you dislike, it may be a tremendous stepping stone for your expansion. But just because the mind is prejudiced, we have our own preferences, our likes, our dislikes, our own attachments, our own cravings, our own unfulfilled desires. We are approaching, because the mind is prejudiced, we do not see this. So just like how a sword can be sharpened by an opposite force against it, or just like how a spark can happen from the rubbing of two stones, in exactly the same way, for some inner growth to happen in life, some amount of tension and some amount of friction is needed. So that is the thing, that if we are suffering in life, we want to approach our sufferings with awareness. If we approach our sufferings with awareness, now this very same suffering, which would have otherwise been poison, it now becomes medicine to help deepen your awareness. And one thing about, this is usually what happens is as a human being becomes more comfortable in life, and as he gathers more and more material luxury and wealth, you find that there's an increasing awareness that this is not enough. The person who's living in poverty, he does not have yet that opportunity to realize this. He still has so many things to attain. He's living just simply at the level of survival. So if your life is mostly driven by survival, now who cares about awareness? Who cares about insight, meditation, seeing clearly into things as they are? So that's why a poor person, he has very little opportunity of getting involved in the spiritual process. That's why there's more greater possibility of getting involved in the spiritual process if somebody's not poor. Because now you already have enough material luxury, and out of your own direct experience, you realize that, okay, this is not satisfying enough. Our material wealth in the world, the most that this can offer us is some amount of comfort, some amount of security, some amount of protection in life. But this by itself can never transform the very way that you perceive life. Because after all, suppose there's a great celebration that's happening around you, but within yourself, you're in a hell. Now life is experienced as hell, isn't it? You're carrying a hell within yourself. Now, no matter where you go, no matter what you do, you'll be carrying that hell with you. This is why there's a great misunderstanding, especially because in India, in the East, for centuries this has been the tradition that when somebody enters into the spiritual path, he has to drop out of the world. You go live in the caves in the Himalayas, or you go live in the forests. And you drop all involvement in the society and invest all your energies into the process of inner exploration. But tell me, like I just said, if you're suffering within yourself, wherever you go, you will be carrying your sufferings with you. You go to the Himalayas, you'll be carrying your sufferings. You go to the marketplace, you'll be carrying your sufferings. You go into the temple, you'll be carrying your sufferings. So this whole attitude, it has been very traditional in the East, is mostly an escape from reality, isn't it? I was very fortunate because when I became involved in this process, I was involved in the middle of a city. I was living in the city. And to me, this was really such a tremendous advantage. Because if you're involved in this kind of process in the Himalayas or in the forest or some place where everything is to your convenience, you don't have any opportunities to test your silence, to test your balance and your integration. And that's the real test of your silence. If you're capable of being involved in the world, throw yourself into chaos, but still within yourself, that silence within you remains undisturbed. Now this is the real test of your freedom. Otherwise, it's very easy if everything, your outer environment, everything is to your convenience. Maybe for some time you might feel some peace within you. But the only way to really test whether this is an illusion or whether this has true grounds in your being is to be put in situations where your mind, it is possible for your mind to get disturbed. So one thing that I used to do is I was involved in this process for a certain number of years. And about the third year, because the first 3 years when I was involved in my practice of yoga, I was mostly just locked in my apartment. I didn't see any friends, I didn't see any family. And like this, I was investing all my energy into nothing else from morning to evening, into this process of inner exploration. But by the third year, I said, okay, now I'm somewhat well established within myself, but now my silence needs to be tested. So what I used to do is, from morning to evening, I would practice my meditation. Once midnight comes, straight out to the clubs and to the bars, and I'll be going, dancing, getting drunk. And it wasn't just because, it wasn't for the sake of hedonism or because I was trying to escape from reality or because I was suffering in some way. I just wanted to test my silence. If I can be totally drunk and intoxicated, yet within myself, that silence remains undisturbed, then this is the real indication that my silence is well established. But this is not what you see today when you go out to the bars and to the clubs. You see people, they seem to be celebrating, but I would not call this real celebration, because this is largely because for 90% of the time, you're carrying such fear and stress and anxiety in your life that you just want some way to flush it all out. So for some time, the alcohol gives you some temporary relief. It loosens your personality up a little bit. But this is not out of true celebration. Because tell me, if true celebration is happening within you, now just sitting here drinking a cup of tea, this can be a really great celebration. Not even drinking a cup of tea, just sitting here doing absolutely nothing, just sitting in one place. This can be a tremendous communion with existence, because that is precisely what the quality of your life is. The quality of your life is none other than the state of consciousness, the state of awareness you're carrying within you from moment to moment.